Warning, this may contain explicit and/or offensive language. You have been warned. Okay, so we're talking about the most terrifying monster. Is that what we're doing?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So
wait, are we recording this?
Yes. Most terrifying monster, like we're talking like Frankenstein, werewolf,
mummy. I think ghost would count too. We didn't talk about
I guess ghost.
Like demon, would demon count?
Demon.
I don't see why not. Oh, there's still papers out there?
Yeah, they're from today too.
Sweet.
Not evergreens.
I need to go grab a pack to put the mic on.
Nobody cares about evergreen.
Keep discussing.
I would say probably either the werewolf or the vampire, because if they catch you, they turn you into themselves.
But see, think about it. Like, I feel like if we're doing those two categories, vampire wins because, or werewolf would win. Because as a vampire, you could be awesome for eternity, but as a werewolf, you turn into a mindless beast that can't control itself once a month.
So you think werewolf is more terrifying?
Yeah, I would say so. Simply because of what you become.
That makes sense to me. That's kind of along the lines of what I'm thinking.
I don't think that, but you also have to, we talked about how...
No, because my point, they talk about this in the U.S. version of...
Werewolves will kill you, though. Vampires
will
bite you and turn you into a vampire. Werewolves, you only get turned into one if you only get bitten.
Vampires will suck you dry if they don't want you to be a vampire like them.
So either way, you end up dead, is my point.
Dead
or become
their purpose is sustenance. Their purpose isn't to turn other people into vampires.
Well, then they're not very good at
so they discuss this in the U.S. version of Being Human, and talking about how, as a vampire, you get turned into one of them and whatnot, but as a werewolf, once a month you have to go through this painful, horrible transformation.
So being a woman.
Basically, yes. No one wants to be around you. Everyone hates you. Everyone avoids you for that. But see, the advantage of being a werewolf is it only lasts for a day, not for apparently 6 months.
And that's a weird thing that we talked about. There's so many different variations on werewolf. There's a kind
that
can change if they want to.
There's so many different variations on every month.
Yeah.
I mean, because look at Nosferatu and Dracula and
exactly.
The guys from Being Human, things like that. And then there's the Twilight ones.
Well, no one cares about.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying there are different variations.
There's different iterations of each.
Even with zombies.
Yeah.
I mean, there's Romero zombies that are slow, and there are fast zombies.
That's why I usually like to say when we're discussing who would win, you give them their best attributes.
See, but for me, I don't know. I thought that the modern day zombie is the illness zombie that isn't really dead. It's just I mean, would you count that as someone that has an infection? Because that's a modern day zombie.
Fast zombies. You're talking fast zombies.
For me, and this has always been my case, a zombie, you cannot be a zombie unless you have become infected, died, and then that infection has brought you back. That's the whole point of zombie that you have...
Or someone has brought you back, like a necromancer.
Yeah. Well, still, what I'm saying is you have to have died and then be brought back as a mindless shell.
So what would you classify these creatures in 28 Days Later and I Am Legend and stuff like
that?
That's
why. Well, that's the thing with I Am Legend. They do die, but technically the I Am Legend monsters are vampiric, not zombies. If you read the actual book, it's a strain of vampirism.
Oh, I haven't read the book.
Well, that's why they can't go out during the day.
They're actually a strain of vampire, not a strain of zombie. This is why I never classify 28 Days Later zombies as zombies. They're more crazed people. They're like reavers.
Well, because they have rage.
They're basically reavers on Earth.
Yeah.
If we're doing the Firefly thing.
If I had to choose out of scary modern scary movies or whatever, if I had to choose a monster, it would probably be the I Am Legend, whatever the fuck they are.
But see, they're intelligent.
Exactly, that's why they're fucking scary.
But no, they can be reasoned with. That's the thing
and if you're during daylight, you're just I win.
But that's the thing
they find you at night.
Not unless you have rubbing alcohol.
Yeah, that's true. That one dumb bitch was like, "Hey, I want to go to your house." I'm not
But no, that's the whole point of the end. The actual end of I Am Legend, not the theatrical end, is in the actual end.
Spoilers coming.
Spoiler: Jesus dies in the Bible. King Kong dies. If you haven't seen him, you're done. in the actual end of I Am Legend, the one that was in the book, in the book, but in the original movie, is Will Smith has that female that he's trying to bring back, and there's the male that's pounding on the glass, and he then realizes that it's not some mindless structure. This is his mate.
Oh, and he wants her back.
And so what he does is he gives the...
Because he's pissed when he takes him. He freaks the fuck out.
So what he does is he gives the girl and the little boy the gun and the grenade and puts them in like that little hidey hole, opens the door, gives her back, and goes with them. And so that's the thing is, the whole point about that true end is that there is a new species that humans have to deal with,
learn to live with.
Yeah, learn to live with, because they are sentient.
Yeah. So, I still think though, like, I don't know.
If we're talking modern day monsters, Glenn Beck.
Glenn Beck is terrifying. He'll hit me with his chalkboard. Wait, he's got a chalkboard.
But told you guys that the cat chat room joke?
No.
So it's this guy, and he's
Glenn Beck or Santorum?
Glenn Beck.
Crazy.
Glenn Beck. Because Glenn Beck believes the shit he's talking about. Anyway, but there's this guy.
Presidential candidate.
There's this guy, and he's like chatting with somebody, and it's like, I gotta go right back. Someone's at the phone, and then it just shows Glenn Beck should be president. What the hell was that? Sorry, my cat jumped on my keyboard. And
I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was funny. That was really funny.
But no, I feel like there are two different classifications. Do we want to do classic monster movie monsters, or...
I would say classic, because there's so many modern ones that we could discuss, like, just classic, like Frankenstein, Frankenstein, fuck Frankenstein.
So I feel like what we have for classic monsters are the Mummy, the vampire, the werewolf.
Which vampire, Nosferatu or Dracula?
Well, we're talking
classic. We're talking classic, yeah, Dracula.
It's Dracula.
Okay. If I was talking movies, I would feel like
Nosferatu Nosferatu is the movie, but technically the vampire is...
Bram Stoker is like the older book, right?
Yeah, and Nosferatu is actually a bastardization of that book. Okay. So technically, Nosferatu in the film is Dracula.
But he's like... I guess what I never got is that they made him so ugly, and isn't Dracula supposed to be like handsome and charming? Like, I've never read Dracula, I've never seen Dracula, but isn't he, like, the point of a vampire is charming? He's supposed to...
It's basically, like, there's two ways it can go. It can go that they physically are charming and handsome, and like, or that their compelling spell, like the do what I'm thinking thing, makes you think they are handsome and charming. So that's the kind of idea they're getting at Nosferatu, is that he actually is this like crypt keeper old mofo, but his compelling spell is so strong, you think. Yeah. So either way, if it's Nosferatu or Dracula, they're kind of the same. Okay. It's like picking at straws. But really, we have Dracula, Frankenstein, Mummy, the Wolfman, and the Mummy. I feel like are the four that if we're doing classic.
What about ghosts? Like a ghost.
So are we doing ghosts or poltergeists?
I would say poltergeists, because ghosts can be good. Ghosts can be good. Poltergeists are always fucking dicks. Because they're all, even if they're like not evil, they're like, I'm gonna break all your shit, and like for no reason.
Yeah.
They want you to talk to them.
But I would feel like I would say Frankenstein is not the scariest, because not even he's slow.
He's not really even mean either.
The original Frankenstein, like, in the book, all he wants is to be accepted by society.
Yeah.
Because
by Frankenstein, you mean Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah. Because Dr. Frankenstein in the book is obsessed with creating life. So he creates Frankenstein, the monster, is immediately terrified at what he's done, locks himself in his room, and like throws the monster out of his house. Frankenstein then spends, I think it's a couple months in the wilderness, like learning everything.
Yeah. And
he hides under some girl's house and like reads copies of Paradise Lost and the Bible, and then ends up talking to her because she's blind. Her father comes home, and the entire book is just about creations being rejected.
In the movie, doesn't he like take a little girl and like throw her in the lake though?
In the movie was designed to be a horror movie. That's the thing. So Frankenstein,
like a social story kind of thing.
Yeah. In the book, it's all about, because Mary Shelley's, I think it was husband, was obsessed with like society without women. Yeah. So she was basically poking fun at him. In the book, all he wants to do is be accepted by his father, by society. Like towards the end, the Doctor and then the monster meet in, I think it's like polar ice caps,
it's like the North Pole or something,
some tundran area, and he demands that he make her hair. That the Doctor make the monster a wife. We're talking about classic monster movie villains. Yeah. But as the Doctor is making it, he realizes that even though Frankenstein has promised that he would not, or the monster promised that he would not hurt human beings anymore, that this creature nor their children have never made that promise. So he destroys it, and I don't remember what he does with the monster. But that's basically the thing. Like, the Frankenstein monster isn't actually a villain or a
He's
monster.
not really a monster. He's just a sad little man.
Pretty much.
Well,
That's why I
sad
think.
giant man.
That's why I think Frankenstein is off the table.
The mummy, I feel like he's so old and decrepit. Like I could kick him in his face and he would just break.
Or light him on fire. Either way.
Yeah, I feel like he's not a difficult enemy, and I feel like it's more of people being scared of the dead coming to life. Now we're counting zombies too, right?
Are we? Well, see, then we're down to a werewolf,
Werewolf,
vampire,
zombie,
And
poltergeist,
zombies and poltergeists.
and
what was it? Vampires.
Yeah, vampire, werewolf. Well, it's technically the vampire, the wolfman, zombies, and poltergeist.
Now,
I guess
the wolfman-
poltergeists would be the worst because you can't defeat them. can you?
That was gonna be my point. Is there's not really a way to fight back against poltergeists.
See, but it depends on what vampire for me that you talk about, and what werewolf and everything like that. There's so many different types. Okay, so
Let's leave the conversation there then. There's too many types. We need to start.
Okay.
Now that everyone's
So
here.
now that everyone's here, I'm gonna.
And pretty well on time.
Yeah.
everyone write a persuasive paper
So
and come back.
are you going to make this its own?
This is
little,
gonna be its
bonus
own little
recording?
thing.
So I guess
Everyone, leave your comments below about
Exactly.
which movie monster you think is the best.
I vote vampire.
scariest, whatever.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
that's what
vote.
suggest.
I vote poltergeist because unless you have the Ghostbusters, there isn't a way to defeat them. What do you think, Timmy?
Tiffany's like, I'm doing crosswords.
Yeah, she's doing Sudoku.
I'm doing Sudoku right now. Scariest classic monster?
Yes.
The quick cross, too.
The monster mash.
I'm going
Graveyard
to
smash.
I would have to go with vampires.
Okay, so we've got one for poltergeist, one for vampire. Haley,
Two for vampires.
we're starting around.
I have no idea what we're even talking about.
Because you're joining the
Scariest monster.
conversation.
Scariest classic monster.
I haven't watched many movies.
Okay,
I'd say
werewolf, vampire, poltergeist.
I'd say if we're talking classic and not modern takes on it, and vampires are pretty fucking scary. If anybody's read Dracula, he was kind of
Yeah.
fucking
Okay,
scary.
so it's two for vampire, one for poltergeists.
Randy was
Jared.
I think I'm going to go with poltergeist simply because you can't destroy them,
Alright.
and they scare me.
You can destroy
To
anything.
each, Randy, I think, has made her point perfectly clear.
I have to say, if it was the worst possible situation, the worst possible vampire, it'd have to be a vampire. Because they can charm you.
We're not.
So-
We're not talking about the worst possible vampire. We're talking about.
Okay, next person. Randy is voted.
Vampire.
So all the girls have voted for vampires. Just
Yeah, I know.
I'm
that too.
I-
Well, I'm
all the
married
guys
to a
so
werewolf,
far.
so they're not really scary.
I have to agree.
I'm gonna have to go with the poltergeist because same as Jared Reddick. You really can't with the vampire. Oh yeah, wooden stake through the heart.
I'm noticing a trend among the males and females of the group.
Okay, Gaston.
Yeah, I was gonna say poltergeist too.
So men are afraid of ghosts, women are afraid of vampires. I guess because women feel like they maybe...
Well,
Because we don't think of it as female vampires seducing us.
Yeah, I feel like what
Well,
it is
even that
is
wouldn't
like
look
Randy
right
said.
so vampires are to women as mermaids are to men.
There you go.
Yes.
Okay.
There you go.
So you want to fuck every vampire?
No, but if they had the curse on me, yes, I would want to fuck him.
But there are female vampires. Or we could talk about a succubi. Then
Oh,
we're
geez.
fucked.
Oh,
Yeah.
then you guys.
But no, I feel like
But getting beaten by a succubi isn't really bad because then you kind of think you're having sex for the rest of your existence.
yeah, it's like in the Dark Tower when he goes to that sex demon in the clearing.
I haven't seen the Dark Tower.
Anyway, so
All right.
what it
Alright,
seems
let's
like.
move to our
Actual D&D.
thing
let's
that
have-
will probably
let's have
get
a
us
silence
blocked
second.
after SOPA passes.
Let's have a moment of silence so I can just cut here.